All right, guys, let's go ahead and see actually how creating markers would work during speed reading, when we actually speed read a real piece of content. I know we've demonstrated before, but now we understand about pauses and looking into the text structure. So here's an article that we wrote, Lev, Anna, and myself wrote for Lifehacker UK. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is probably pre-read it. Okay. What do we get? Well, I get Stop Blaming the Hardware, 2,000 words per minute. I see there's a TED Talk, study at Humboldt University. Okay. Visual memory trumps all forms. Sabertooth, that's interesting. Why is that in there? Memory's the first skill you should train, 70 to 90% retention. Perils of subvocalizing. If I didn't know what subvocalizing I would probably say, what's that? Prepare for a challenge. Infrastructure. Okay. Old normal reading. Jonathan Levy, Dr. Lev Golden Touch, best-selling author. Okay, so that's all I need for my pre-reading. I already have some interest. What is subvocalizing? What is the challenge? Why is there a TED Talk? Ooh, I like TED Talks. Visual memory trumps all forms. Okay, so now I have some curiosity. I have some questions. I have some things that I want to pull out of the text. So now as we go through and we speed read, the first thing we could do, by the way, is we could open this up in reading mode on Safari if we wanted to. But even if you didn't, it's actually pretty nicely formatted anyway. We can maybe zoom in a little bit. And then as we read, let's go through. So here, I get 6 years old. Remember, I'm looking with saccades, so you guys can't see my eyes, but I'm focusing here once, here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and so on. Okay? So 5 or 6 years old, I picture a 6-year-old child. It's a bit difficult to create markers for this because I did write the article, so I have the markers that I had when I wrote it, but 5 or 6-year-old child, I picture a child that I know who's 5 or 6 years old. This child was a little strange and unique. Okay, the kid is behaving weirdly. Photographic memory. Now, I haven't created these markers until I pause here. So those markers that I described to you, I'm actually going to pause in between the chapter for maybe 0.15 seconds. Something really, really quick. And then I'm going to picture this child having a photographic memory. So he's looking at a bunch of photographs. Okay. Heaps of assorted memories. Okay. Great. So, what did we get out of that paragraph? I'm going to let you guys read it in case you're not reading as quickly. I have an image of a teacher. I picked a teacher that was particularly relevant to me in my childhood, and a picture of a mother giving a child a book. And a university assistant. Again, I picture a university assistant of mine sitting in a classroom that I sat in. Okay? And I'm just going to keep going. And I'll keep going that way. Okay? Classroom. All right. Okay. Now I've imagined essentially spending time trying to learn faster. That's a picture of me learning, studying with a bunch of books, and we have Dr. Lev and Anna and 2,000 words per minute. Now, I may not know what they look like, but I can imagine what they might look like, and that can be my marker. Now, by the time I get to the end of the section, what I'm going to do is invest a little bit longer, maybe a second, and I'm going to review my images really quickly and try and link them together, okay? So probably the fastest way to do this, because we immediately realize that this is a story, okay? This is a biographical story that goes in order. And even speed reading, we can realize that, okay? So it starts from childhood and goes all the way up, large part of my youth, and then it goes all the way to where we are today, okay? And so because it's already a story, probably what I'll do is I'll just visualize the images in chronological order, and I'll maybe just put some logical markers, okay? The author met this weird kid, had a weird experience. Then he remembers a teacher trying to help him read more, and a mother buying a book, and then a university assistant. So it becomes a slideshow of images that are all logically connected, and there's cause and effect. He saw this weird thing, so he wanted to learn more effectively. People in his life wanted to help, so they also donated their time and their effort. And then eventually it culminates, leads up to the rest of the story, okay? So I would review, and all that could happen in really a matter of a second, even less, probably less than a second. We could review those markers really quickly just while we're scrolling. I mean, it's going to take us a second to scroll through here, right? And then when we get here, okay, great. And we just continue doing that. Now, when we get to the end of the article, there's a couple things we can do. One, we want to test ourselves. We want to see what we got. So yeah, we'll spend 1, 2, 3 seconds. We'll review all our markers. There's nothing wrong with going back and saying, okay, what did I get here? All right, I have that marker of the 6-year-old child looking at photographs. Great. I have the photo of the teacher. I have the mother giving the book. All right, I have the university teaching assistant. Great. I have that classroom image, right? And we can do that so quickly and just review that we have an understanding that our markers add up, and we can make them into a compound marker, right? We can create one image, which essentially becomes almost like a mind map, or we can do it any way we really want to, with logical markers, with a slideshow, with a mind map that just shows all the different points. Okay, so we knew from the title that we were supposed to expect 5 tips and tricks. Can we fill out a quick mind map with 5 markers? Okay, so what if marker number 1 is stop blaming the hardware? It's just a nice picture of the brain. Okay, what's a marker of visual memory trumping all forms? Well, could we use the picture of that 6-year-old child with looking at the photographs? Sure, we could use that marker. Memory is the first skill you should train. Okay, can we think of maybe Albert Einstein? Can he be our marker for good memory? Or what's a good marker for memory? Well, mine is Kim Peek. He had 100% memory. Understand the perils of subvocalizing. Okay, I can picture someone reading and their lips are moving while they read, and prepare for a challenge. Okay, I can think of an Olympic athlete. I can think of Rocky. Doesn't really matter what my marker is as long as it has that vivid detail and I can connect it all together. Okay, so the way I would connect this together is I would just have a mind map. I would imagine it with 5 points. And maybe each one of those I could imagine really just spending a few seconds after reading this article, picturing all these different points. And that becomes our first review, okay, our first recall in our spaced repetition. And that one review alone is going to make our attention so much higher. So remember, I'm doing these during the pauses, in between paragraphs, in between while I'm scrolling from section to section. Okay, so it's not happening while I read. And if it is, it's happening maybe as I go from right here to right here in the upper levels. Once I've trained a lot, only then will I really get an image that'll happen that quickly. So that can happen years from now, but in the meantime, it's okay to get to the end of this paragraph and spend 15 milliseconds reviewing and creating a marker. Okay?